On this week's episode of Friend Code, we're talking about Smash Brothers again, and Super Nintendo games might be coming to the Switch, finally. Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of Friend Code. I'm your host, Michael Damiani. This week I'm joined by Bradley Ellis.
Hello.
Daniel Bloodworth.
Yo.
And we got some more Smash Brothers stuff to talk about today.
Okay.
Every time I'm on here.
But it's not just Smash Ultimate this time.
What?
It's not just Smash Ultimate this time because
the
did you
anniversary?
know? Thank you, Bloodworth. Yeah. It's the 20th anniversary
not know.
of the
20
original
years?
release of Super Smash Brothers on Nintendo 64. The Japanese release was January 21st, 1999. 20
Wow.
years ago.
Wow.
Woo! It's a long time.
Yeah, I was like in 6th grade.
But yeah, that's what I actually wanted to talk about, Brad. I want to talk about like the first experience with Super Smash Brothers, the original one. Yeah.
How did I first hear about it?
Yeah, how do you hear about
Nintendo
it?
Power, baby.
Nintendo Power?
In 6th grade, I remember at our school we went to, there's a camp you would go to at 6th grade. It's called Outdoor Ed. And I remember it was like right before the game came out, and I was talking about with like Mike and stuff and like other friends about like, whoa, you can play as Link in this fighting game and Samus? And got it day one, baby. It was ready there day one. It was awesome.
Ooh. What about you, Bloodworth?
I'm trying to remember the first impressions, first reactions, because I feel like I should have seen a Nintendo Power, but I don't have any memory of that.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the commercial at least?
I definitely knew it was coming. I'm just trying to remember like who previewed it first, whether it was IGN. It must have been IGN or something, because I think that's the only thing I was like really browsing online at that point, and probably saw like a little bit of video. But yeah, so it was kind of funny because that was the year that I was at an internship at a missions organization, and so like we're all living in dorms and stuff, and like basically like we conglomerated like a group of ours like laundry money and things like that
To get it.
to be able to like get a copy of Smash
nice.
Brothers to play together.
It's a perfect game for that too.
Yeah.
'Cause everyone's gonna share in that enjoyment with that game. I think if I remember correctly, my first exposure to it, I don't remember if I saw stuff about it first, like in magazines, before I actually saw a copy of it. And the caveat is I saw a Japanese copy of it at so where I grew up, Blockbusters had a game store attached to it. I forget if it was Game Crazy or it was one of those game something stores attached to it. And inside they had a Japanese N64 box. I'm like, but I recognized the characters. I'm like, why are all the Nintendo characters on this box? And I asked the guy there, I'm like, hey, what is that? And he goes, just look at this. He turns on the screen and they're playing it. And I'm like, what is this? Why are all the Nintendo characters fighting each other? He goes, yeah, it's Super Smash Brothers. I was like, oh my, and everyone, like, there was a group of people and like around there watching it. I just thought, nothing of it. And then now I realize, so I'm like, oh wait, can you rent this? And like, yeah, but like it's like rented out right now, and like it's probably gonna be a few weeks before. I was like, okay, so I got excited about that, and then I remember seeing the commercial, really good commercial for that game.
Yeah,
got everyone excited about it, and then I just remember thinking how crazy it was that there was gonna be a Nintendo fighting game. But also it was so different, like using the items, like the concept that like, you have to knock them off the stage. Mm-hmm. I think that was like, I had not seen anything quite like that before. I don't think there was, I don't know if there's anything similar to that had come out before. So I don't know about YouTube. Was that kind of like a unique thing when you first actually played Super Smash Brothers, the way you won in that game?
Yeah, I never played anything like that at the time.
What about like it had like 4-player multiplayer as well,
yeah,
and
for
stuff
like a
like
fighting
that.
game too. Yeah.
Like on screen at once, and it was still on a 2D plane still, so it wasn't like a 3D fighter.
Right.
Like it wasn't like a Power Stone type game where you could have like multiple people in a 3D arena.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, 4-player was pretty much on a high at that point with like GoldenEye and F-Zero and Star Fox
Mario
and everything.
Kart, yeah.
So yeah, Mario Kart for sure. So yeah, that was one of the reasons we were so into it, because like we just like all it's another game that we can all just play together. But yeah, I just remember like feeling, just that sense of bizarreness of, those character models and everything, being, on those stages together.
I remember distinctly the break the target stuff.
So fun.
Like going through like
Oh
the
my
extras
God,
in that game and seeing break the targets, and just to me, Smash Brothers from the very start felt like more than even just a fighting game, because it had so much ancillary content attached to it that it always felt unique to me, and that it was more of a multiplayer kind of like. I always viewed it as like it's got fighting mechanics in it, but it's also like a party game because they have all these challenges and stuff. But at the same time, I felt like a lot of games at that point were doing weird side modes instead of just like the main like arcade mode or the main like story mode. There would always be like, even like old like Street Fighter 2 had the bonus stages where you're trying to break the car. Like
Mortal Kombat had the test your might.
That stuff had been around forever, so it's kind of cool to see like a whole dedicated mode to stuff like that. So I kind of contradicted myself there, but I guess what I really mean to say is that while I understood it to be like, I could see the viewpoint of it being viewed as like kind of like more of a party game, to me it always felt like a fighting game. It always felt like a fighting game with just a lot of extra modes tacked onto it. Yeah. But have any of you played it at any time in recent memory?
Not recently.
Or if you can remember the last time you played it, how did you feel about it after so much time?
When I played it last time, I was like, Melee's better. That's what I thought last time I played it.
Oh, gee, Blood, have you played it?
Yeah, I definitely haven't played it on an N64 controller. I'm sure there was some point on Virtual Console where we played it for a bit, for something. But yeah, those controllers are super weird as well.
Playing with the N64 controller versus it's kind of
the Virtual Console controller. You know,
playing with the Virtual Console controller. Oh, geez. It's kind of the GameCube controller kind of became the staple for that series after Melee. It's kind of funny to think like the N64 controller was the de facto controller for that series when it started. I did play it not too long ago, and I remember thinking how it's so fun, but it's so slow.
Yeah.
It's just very really slow, very exaggerated.
Yeah, I was thinking floaty was kind of like...
The stages are so simplistic. I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing,
no,
but...
I mean, it's an N64 game, you know?
Yeah, seeing them again, especially getting to compare them now to Ultimate, where those stages have been updated and look much better now. Seeing their original N64 versions, like, they really did improve, like, these stages, and they look much better now. Just good memories for that game. Soundtrack was pretty good, although I think soundtrack kind of exploded once Melee came out, and then Brawl culminated with, like, we're going all in on this, like, the soundtracks for these games, But the thing I always remember about Super Smash Brothers is the intro, where it's like a countdown, where it's like 3, 2, 1, and then the snap, and then you see all the characters. But it's also the concept is that they're all toys in a room. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Weren't they that 3D room? Yeah, you're in a 3D room, and they're just toys that come to life, which was kind of a cool concept. And we've seen that carried on with the trophies, kind of like their figures.
To a degree, but not as overtly as it was in the original cutscene. Like we've never seen them like actually look like some scene out of Toy Story like that.
Yeah, they have like ragdoll physics when they're being dropped and stuff. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I think it's probably one of the more unique entries in this series.
The first one?
The first one because of its style, very simplistic roster. Also, I mean, Smash Ultimate paid tribute to that by its original 8, where the 8 characters you start off with in Smash Ultimate are the original 8 from Super Smash Brothers.
Unlockable in the first one?
Luigi was in the first game.
Was he like start, or was you have to unlock him?
I think it was Mario, Fox, Donkey Kong, Samus. I think it was
Kirby,
Link,
Pikachu.
And I think it might have been. Oh, did we say Donkey Kong yet?
Yeah.
I think it was Luigi.
Okay. Because then you unlock Jigglypuff and Falcon.
Yeah, Jigglypuff, Falcon. I'm still trying to think about Luigi. We can just like look it up and stuff, but let's finish up on that. Like the roster. Do you kind of like miss having a smaller roster versus like the gargantuan lineup we have of 70 plus fighters now in Ultimate? Or do you?
I don't really miss it. I don't think it's suffered really compared to the old one. It's just even more complex compared to the old one. And there's so many awesome characters now that I don't want to give a lot of them up.
Okay.
Like, I don't want to give up Cloud. I don't want to give up Belmonts.
If you could go back to Super Smash Brothers on N64 and if Cloud was dropped in there.
Cloud?
PS1 Cloud dropped into that. All right, here we go. Let me clarify real quick. The original, we got it wrong. I'm sorry. So the original 8 were Mario, Donkey Kong, Link, Samus, Yoshi, Kirby, Fox, and Pikachu. The 4 unlockables were Luigi, Captain Falcon, Ness, and Jigglypuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
Ness,
Sorry.
right? Okay.
And those were the OG 12 that were in Super Smash Brothers. But what about you, Billworth? How do you feel about like the roster? How it's like kind of ballooned in 20 years since the original?
I mean, I definitely think there are some things in there that are, like obviously the redundant. Everyone talks about the Fire Emblem characters and such, and Dark Pit, and but for the most part, I mean, those don't really take away anything. I think most of the roster really works out better than expected most of the time. Like there aren't that many characters that are just so weird that they get left behind.
Yeah, I bet they'll cut guys in the next one though.
Yeah,
it is really interesting to think of like how do you go forward from this?
Yeah, like it's like Mortal Kombat Ultimate.
I
Just
feel
scale it down.
I feel like there are a lot of characters that are quote unquote clones or very similar in play styles to the others.
Yeah,
I think they could trim there. I never get upset when they add a character with a unique moveset. Incineroar was like a good example of that. There really wasn't a character who played like that. That's kind of cool. Nice to add. King K. Rool, really cool.
Are you talking about just like Echo Fighters?
Yeah, like they could cut out on that and
Not
like
Ganondorf. Don't cut Ganondorf.
Yeah, that's the hard thing.
No.
I think they've made Ganondorf and Captain Falcon different enough.
Sure, he's more different.
But they don't need they can't add another character who's just like those two at this point. But I think they could cut out the Echo Fighters. I think you could probably pick Simon and or Richter. Just pick one next time.
Maybe
don't
just
need
a skin
both.
or
Yeah,
something.
you don't need Ryu and Ken next time. Or a skin direction.
Richter's definitely like the hardcore fan play right there.
Yeah,
there's so many people that
you got me.
Don't know anything about Richter.
I was like, oh, Richter.
Adding Inkling was a good one too. So more of that. I'd like to see more of that, and less of the copycats.
Oh, of course. I'd rather
less
have like full-blown new characters. Yeah.
I think that's always the problem with Fire Emblem is that you get characters that have such similar moves. And you're like, we know it's popular now, but speaking of Smash Brothers Ultimate and their characters and stuff, there was a recent interview in Nintendo Dream with Masahiro Sakurai, director and the creative mind behind the Smash Brothers series. Kind of gives some insight into the creation process of the most recent Super Smash Brothers. And there were some nice tidbits that came out of it. First, I want to give some credit. Push Dustin, who founded All Source Gaming, which is a site that has amazing Japanese interviews translated into English, including a lot of really good ones about Super Smash Brothers, especially like the early creation of Super Smash Brothers. Did the translations, presented them on Twitter, on their Twitter account. And here were some of the highlights. First, I always pronounce this one wrong. This Kyle here.
He's outside.
Damn it. Decidueye? Decidueye? Yeah, I can never pronounce that one. Decidueye was almost chosen for the new Pokemon spot over Incineroar. So that was an interesting thing. So they were at least considering something else. But real quick, do either of you had any strong feelings about them picking Incineroar for that last Pokemon slot?
I just think he's a cool Pokemon for it, like a wrestling Pokemon. That's awesome.
Surprised me.
Yeah, I mean, the style and the way it's implemented is pretty cool. I think, even though I played Sun and Moon, like I didn't get that far into it, and so I didn't, look ahead to see what things evolve into. So when Incineroar was announced, I'm just like, what is that?
Yeah, he had a flaming wrestling
belt. That was kind of my reaction. Like, okay,
yeah,
I have no clue what this is.
Yeah, visually, Incineroar looked cool to me. I was just curious how they're gonna play. Yeah. But I know that there's always going to be Pokemon fans who aren't completely satisfied with whatever choice they make. This next one was interesting because I've seen arguments about it one way or the other. Sakurai confirmed that Zelda in the game is confirmed to be based on A Link to the Past and A Link Between Worlds versions.
Yeah.
I remember being asked that question on streams.
But she has the Spirit Tracks Guardian, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's what her spirit possesses.
Yeah.
But their base design.
Yeah.
And I remember asking, people asked on stream, I said, it looks like A Link to the Past meets A Link Between Worlds Zelda. It's pretty cool. I liked it.
I will say that's one thing that I do sort of miss a little bit is the way that Samus and Zelda kind of had that trick to where like they were sort of two characters in one.
Oh,
and breaking them out into completely separate characters. It's like, I know you get an added move out of that because you're not sort of wasting a move on the transformation. But it was still really cool to see them break apart.
But
specifically, Samus changing when you use the
ultimate.
The ultimate was cool, but I always felt, especially in Melee, Sheik and Zelda transformation, like just such kind of a cool and sometimes key component of that. Especially, I remember playing on a casual over friends, like you'd be using Sheik and they get used to it, all of a sudden you just like bust out Zelda like for a mix up on them, the mess with them. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
Fun times. Next one, Xenoblade 2 and ARMS were just characters were just a victim of bad timing for their project plan. Those games just came out at a time when they were too far along, and they just couldn't work in characters into the main roster. Yeah, they ended up being Mii outfits though, and assist trophies, but no actual playable fighters for them yet.
Yeah.
And who knows? I think Xenoblade 2 surprised me the most because how popular that was, but also ARMS, because it's a fighting game, seemed like just the perfect thing. I always assumed it had something to do with the development cycle, but I think I was kind of shocked that they got no representation.
They were assist trophy, right, or something?
Like a fighter representation, like playable fighter.
There's a few different things that they had in there.
And the music, not too. I don't think there's that much. Were there any actual remixes? There weren't any Xenoblade 2 remixes. They just concluded the actual soundtrack, I think, for a few songs. And I think same thing with ARMS. They're so new, I don't know if they necessarily need remixes.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing ARMS music, but it's probably in there.
Yeah. I'd like to see more, though. As far as the additions they did, such as Simon and Richter, Ridley, and King K. Rool, they were all added due to their placement on the Smash ballot, the fan poll that they did. So Sakurai wanted to make fans happy.
Where was Gino on that list?
I think... I don't know if Gino was ever on that list. What? I also think they restrict certain characters because they're just not possible.
How is Gino not possible?
Well, no. I mean, I'd be like, with Goku would obviously be number one. I think of Goku on that list, but
Gino
honestly,
seems possible to me.
I think they might. I forget if it's fan submitted or if they present a list of characters and let everyone vote.
Okay.
I always forget how it works, and I try not to pay too much attention to the Smash ballots because I don't want to have. I don't want to know. And now that we know that they do pick from that, it's just, I'd rather not know.
Sure. What I was thinking, again, would probably be a copyright nightmare, especially the music. But Dragon Quest representation have like a Slime Knight.
Oh, Slime Knight.
Slime Knight, yeah. That's the rumor, though, that the
one of the
second from DLC character will be
from Dragon Quest 3.
We'll have to see. King K. Rool's concept was to be a heavy character,
of course.
but to do things that a heavy character normally wouldn't be able to do. Do you think they realized that did they achieve that goal
gun?
with King K. Rool?
Yeah.
Also, like his helicopter,
yeah.
Like one of the best recoveries in the game. How much distance it could cover.
The cannon's so fun.
Oh, the cannon, the crown, and the fact that people can take your crown.
So cool.
I love stuff like that.
Like they did a really good job taking his moveset from the original games.
They do such a good job.
Like he even puts the pirate hat on when he brings up the gun.
Just embracing those little like nice touches from those games.
That's great.
And working them in like that. Also, then that's how they mechanically work so well. Because you shoot the cannonball out. The suction in thing, also part of the game, but you can suck the player in, but also you suck the cannonball in. It didn't change the directory to make it diagonal, which is so cool. Just a fun character to play.
Yeah.
Finally, Piranha Plant was decided because it's a character that wouldn't be. They thought too many of the characters were iconic heroes or main characters, essentially.
Okay.
So they thought it was getting boring adding all these heroes or like these iconic main, like the main protagonists or villains from these series, and so let's put Piranha Plant in there. Let's put something different in there, and thus Piranha Plant was selected. It's still not available yet. We're still waiting on Piranha Plant to drop. Probably stream that when that happens. So we can't really comment on that, but yeah, that was definitely a very unique pick.
Yeah, I was just like, why?
Put it mildly.
Why? Okay.
Yeah, because that seems like that'd be such an obvious like assist trophy or something like that. So it's like, why not make Goomba a fighting character? Like
Koopa Troopa or something.
Yeah, Koopa Troopa fighting character, or something like that.
Or Gino.
Or
Gino.
yeah, because Gino was just
Or
like
Gino, yeah.
a low key character in a little game called Super Mario RPG.
It's pretty low key now.
It's
Game's old. He's never been anything else.
what would you rather have, Brad? An update to that game or a true sequel?
Oh, a true sequel.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it depends who's doing it, I guess.
Like a true sequel with like the dream team.
Oh,
making
the
it.
Dream Team? Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah. Would you want it to still be the same visual style as Super Mario RPG,
I mean,
or would you
like
want
that's still like trying to capture that same art style, but it doesn't have to look like a Super Nintendo game.
What about that HD 2D patented recently by the Square Enix for the Octopath?
Way down, sure,
Do that style?
sure.
Although, I mean, that's the thing with Mario RPG. It was done in kind of the same technique as like Killer Instinct or Donkey Kong Country. Like, so it was, one of those kind of early,
Yeah,
3D models.
Yeah,
Even though they rendered it all out of sprites.
yeah. I mean, I don't need like a huge 3D world necessarily.
Well, one thing that sticks out in Super Mario RPG, I'm sorry, this is spoiling a very, very old game for you, but there is not Super Mario RPG, I just got confused because we're talking about Rare, but Donkey Kong Country 2, the medal thing, sorry. This is spoiling Donkey Kong Country 2 view. The hero medal or whatever you got. And at the end, it showed how you stacked up to other characters. Remember it had like Link and Sonic's shoes or something in a
Did it have Sonic shoes?
trash can or something in the background?
I remember Link
but
and
like
Samus
but seeing those renders of
Yeah.
that. But also in Super Mario RPG, seeing the characters the
them in the
Easter eggs.
hotels
and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
It was always nice to see other game series characters rendered in a different style.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was something they were doing more of in that time period. It's kind of like nice nods that you still see a little bit of it, but not too much anymore.
Right.
Especially like cross series references like that. They seem to Nintendo still seems to do a good job with it, but I seem to remember it. It stood out in my mind more in the 90s for some reason.
I think it was just like crazy, just
Yeah,
thinking them even being in that. Like
Yeah, like,
nowadays, like
I'm excluding Animal Crossing because
Right.
obviously they
Items
love to
and
do
stuff,
that.
but
Yeah.
Animal Crossing giving you access
Actually,
to like dozens of games.
What was the game? I know this is on our
Look
topic.
here, there's an NES. Put it in your basement.
Yeah. They have playable games. This just reminded me that it's not on the docket for this episode, but data miners found in Mario Tennis Aces that one of the upcoming DLC characters might actually be Link.
really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Apparently,
Like Breath of the Wild Link?
same thing they did with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It's gonna be like the Breath of the Wild
Don't
outfit.
tell Kyle; he'll be furious.
Yeah, we'll keep it a secret to everyone.
I'm gonna tell
Racket
him
has
later.
like the hilt to the Master Sword.
Yeah.
Yeah, like things that stick out, like there was a Link Between Worlds having like Majora's Mask in there, but that was obviously teasing Majora's Mask 3D, which will be
3D, yeah.
coming out like soon
I mean, Breath of
after.
the Wild's
His
got everything
outfit's
in it.
gonna look hilarious.
Yes.
Oh
his outfit.
gosh,
Wonder whether or not they'll use the cap.
you know what? This is a
I think
for.
it'll be Breath of the Wild Link probably.
I definitely think it'll be worth it. They also said something about like a Master Sword or Cycle something thing in it. I forget what it was.
And his racket.
Yeah, so I think his racket's gonna be like themed after like
Yeah,
that
like you said.
type of like what the Master
handle.
Cycle design is. It'll look like that.
okay.
Oh,
Like
okay, like
the-
Sheikah technology.
Yeah, Sheikah technology style,
Cool.
like the slate.
That's cool.
But yeah, sorry, this is getting me thinking about something because before the show, I was thinking about like when I was thinking about crossovers and stuff. I was thinking about like when Nintendo does with Smash Brothers and where like directions could go for stuff. And I think it was either a recent episode or I was talking with someone about it. We're talking about Sonic Team Racing coming out. Oh, it was during the last preview episode and how we were wondering why Sega decided to go away from all Sega racer to Sonic, and the subject switched to like Mario Kart. Like, where's Mario Kart going to go? Because Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is a fantastic game, and same with Ultimate. They kind of become like the ultimate versions of their games.
Yeah.
And the consensus seemed to be, what if Nintendo makes a Nintendo Kart instead of just Mario Kart? Because they are adding, already have added characters
They'll
that are
keep
not.
the name though, just for recognition.
Yeah, I think so.
Like,
But
because people recognize
But yeah,
it.
do you think they would start expanding more,
I
especially
think
out of the
so.
gates
Yeah,
with
especially with Link.
non-Mario Universe
Yeah,
characters
absolutely.
in Mario Kart?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it'll probably still just be guest characters. There might be more of those guest characters.
Like you never
And
think.
what the murmuring going around now is that like the new Mario Kart's not even being done by the normal Mario Kart team.
Oh, really?
Weird.
I haven't heard anything about new
Being
Mario
outsourced
Kart.
somehow. So
I think it'd be a while.
But I don't know how, like, that's just floating around, so I don't know if that has any truth behind it.
So the concept of a Mario Kart, a new one, say Mario Kart 9 comes out and it starts with 16 characters. What if 8 are Mario characters and 8 are like the stars, like Kirby, Donkey Kong, Link, like where you switch to Smash Bros? Would that be okay with you? Do you think there's something they could actually do? You know,
sure, why not?
Yeah, they could definitely do it, and that kind of thing could certainly make it easier to come up with all kinds of stuff across the board, whether it's carts or levels, especially. And, you know, they just think about how many cool levels you could come up with if you just suddenly crack that open. All the great stuff they did with F-Zero on the last game. And the Zelda track as well.
That's why I love seeing that.
Yeah, like Animal Crossing too.
I have no allegiance to any kind of like ridiculous purity of a game,
right? In
terms of that, Mario Kart should say Mario characters only. Seeing them expand and include those levels you just mentioned, Blood, I love that. And
me too.
It made me go, I want more of this. I now expect this kind of, because it's so cool to see that. And
you imagine like some Xenoblade track where you're like going across some moving, living thing.
Yes, Bloodworth. I like this.
Just wrap around one of their legs or something.
And it could be like, it could be a nod to the Yoshi Course N64, the one that had so many different paths you could go. But because it's Xenoblade open world and stuff, like, hey, there's like, you can go this way, you can go that way. They could do. Oh man, if they did like Monado stuff where you went too close to something, it like would show you get hit by a shell. Like it comes up, so it gives you the option. Like, oh, okay, here.
Might be a little too much.
But see, the possibilities are fun to talk about.
That was good.
Speaking of possibilities of what may come, and the Switch, recently a list of SNES and Super Nintendo games were discovered in the source code for the Switch Online NES app, the Switch NES app on your Switch.
Okay.
So there are game listings for Super Nintendo games found in there.
Whoops.
Yeah.
What do we got?
So they were found back as far as December's update for the games, but after the January 16th update, that had the most, it had Blaster Master, Zelda 2, Adventure of Link, and then the SP versions of Ghosts and Goblins and Ninja Gaiden. By the way, I scrub tier report. I cannot beat Ghosts and Goblins even with the SP thing. It just puts you at the last level, like the start of it. I can't. I tried.
Gotta get the right items.
I was like, I don't know if they don't have the right items or some shit, but I was like, yeah, Game Genie this.
I mean, it's a hard game.
I was like, Game Genie. And then on the Ninja Gaiden,
and you got those controllers too.
Yeah, to this day, I can get to the final boss of Ninja Gaiden. The second form, I can't beat it.
Ninja Gaiden's very hard.
I cannot legitimately beat the second form of the final boss of Ninja Gaiden. I have no problem getting to it. It's just that boss's pattern, just like, I gotta like maybe watch some videos. But anyway, after that update that brought all those games, there was even more data discovered. So hackers established there's been a pattern since this past December that they have been slowly adding not only game entries into the app's code, but now descriptions of those games as well in various languages. So credit needs to go to, I believe their name, it's EHM. I'm going to say M is pronunciation of their name. They are the co-admin of the Cutting Room Floor, and they published their findings on Twitter. So the list of games that have now been found in the NES app on Switch include Breath of Fire 2, Contra 3,
okay,
Demon's Crest,
okay, yeah,
F-Zero,
nice,
yep,
Kirby's Dream Course, Kirby's Dream Land 3, Kirby Superstar, Mystical Ninja, Pilot Wings, Star Fox, Star Fox 2, Stunt Race FX,
whoa,
Super Ghouls and Ghost, Super Mario All-Stars, Super Mario Kart, Super Mario World, Super Metroid, almost done, Super Punch-Out, Super Soccer, Yoshi's Island, and Zelda: A Link to the Past.
Okay.
2 quick caveats. Star Fox 2, Stunt Race FX, Super Soccer, and Yoshi's Island were listed as JP only under the language. While Super Mario All-Stars was listed as Japan and Italian only. So maybe each region's getting different versions of these games at some point. We don't know. But what you gonna say?
Mario All Stars is a weird one to me because the original games are already there. Although they don't have any form of the quote unquote lost levels on the
not currently on the NES app.
And that I think that they probably did significantly make that different on the Mario All Stars version. Stunt Race FX, I don't remember them ever porting.
That's an interesting one. Yeah.
That's been a while.
I was like, whoa, okay.
I remember seeing some of that in Smash Brothers Ultimate. Some of those World of Light things, and I'm like, man, that's a pull right there.
Maybe that's the reason why they're put in there, because they're planning to bring it back on this the service. So
I wonder how much Sakurai's team does to remind the rest of Nintendo about games that they forgot
exist. The conclusion being drawn, especially because there's been descriptions added for the game. Like there's the English descriptions for Super Mario World. Super Mario Kart has a Spanish description. The conclusion that's being drawn is that because they've been adding more data to this, and the list is pretty comprehensive, that it seems to be a good guess that Super Nintendo games will be coming to the Switch in the near future. Do you buy that? Do you think this is gonna happen?
I mean, as long as this stuff isn't all made up and it's actually in there, it's pretty good evidence. Yeah,
I buy it.
I trust the cutting room floor people to be able to their data mining to pull that out. The Switch doesn't seem that hard to pull out data from.
So we're getting a new version.
So it's be interesting because right now, for those who aren't aware,
new controllers.
They add oh gosh, yes, we might be getting, and they might become function as Joy-Cons as well. Because slots like almost Joy-Cons, they have like the shoulder buttons.
Yeah, there's no
top
stick, but
but they slot in to the size of the Switch base unit, just like that to charge. This is gonna be funny using Super Nintendo ones.
Yeah,
it looks so goofy when you do it, but it technically works. I wonder what those are gonna be. But also how it works right now is you get four with quotation new games a month. The more recent months, we're getting special versions of existing games where basically a save state at a point in the game, which makes it potentially easier to complete for that. But 4 new games added a month. So I wonder, do you think that they will be adding 4 new NES games and 4 new Super Nintendo games each month?
I hope at the very least.
Or do you think they're gonna
pretty slow trickle?
Do you think they might start slowing down to be like 2 and 2, maybe 2 NES, 2 Super Nintendo? Like, what do you expect, or do you foresee them trying to do?
I can't see them doing that slow if they're gonna continue doing this SP thing. Like, you can't just put out 4 a month if some of those 4 are just variants of things that people already have.
Yeah, the SP thing is interesting because they've never, aside from adding like easy mode stuff to the game, they've never outright. It's essentially like it's a save state, but it can also be viewed as like ROM hacking. Essentially, like Nintendo's doing official ROM hacking.
They did switch up Wave Race 64 on Virtual Console. They took out the official Kawasaki logos and N64 stuff and replaced it with like DS and Wii banners on the sides of the tracks.
Man, I miss Wave Race.
Yep.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I agree with you, Bloodworth. I think they can't slow down. I think it's going to have to stick to 4 a month. I don't think they deviate for that. But of the 4 from each, I expect some will still be special editions. Yeah. And I believe Super Nintendo games will also start getting special editions as well.
But it's one of the weird things. I mean, I know they're doing a lot more with these than the quick emulation that Virtual Console was. But it's slower than Virtual Console. And it started a lot later, so it's really weird.
Yeah, we kind of know now pretty much the answer was the reason they started slower is because they knew the classic systems were coming, and NES blew up. They didn't want to cannibalize it. In fact, part of this rumor also...
This was the last holiday season for those.
Yeah, if you believe what Nintendo's saying, they say there will be no more classic consoles being released at now. They're done. All that they've made have been made, and they're done. Whether you believe that or not, that's up to you. But I think there's an indication based on more of the data mine stuff, because it wasn't just SNES games that were found as well. There are references to the emulator names. The NES and SNES emulator names are the code names used in the NES and SNES Classic. So they are using the same emulator tech as that. I know there's like info about like the ROMs they've got and stuff, like, or where the source for those to come. But the emulators themselves are based the team they put together to make those. But there are 3 other emulator codenames found on the Switch.
Okay.
So we know NES and Super NES are likely. What do you think the other 3 might be? What would you wager against?
Virtual Boy.
Virtual Boy. All right.
That would be hilarious, but I don't see that
Game Boy.
happening. I would see Game Boy being a good possibility. I would see N64 being a good possibility, and if it weren't for that Genesis Classics, I'd say Genesis. But Genesis Classics, they just put over there, so I could imagine that they won't necessarily do that.
I don't think Bloodworth. I don't think any third-party like systems will be done through this system. Here we go.
Yeah, because it does make it complicated, right? Because nobody's buying the games directly; they're just part of the subscription service.
I'm trying to get the names of the emulators real quick for you, because I know one was
SNK has been releasing stuff on Switch
Neo
like
Geo.
every week.
What about so I heard Game Boy. Do you think it will just be Game Boy games, or it'll be like
I think it'll be
OG Game Boy,
Game Boy
Color, Game Boy? It's just OG
for now.
Okay.
I mean, I think that the way Game Boy and Game Boy Color
work,
that it could
overlap.
be one. It could be one emulator.
You're right.
Yeah.
Not Advance though. Not yet.
Yeah, I think Advance would be separate.
What about so we said
but on 3DS, like the Advanced games came out pretty much right at the same time as anything else. So yeah, I don't know.
I know that people are probably going to say the obvious N64, but I want to throw one out there. DS. Because it already had emulation on Wii U.
Right.
There were some complaints about that emulation. And they did bring in that team from Europe to start helping out with the emulation support on Nintendo. I would like to see a better DS emulator used. And because these are 3 codenames we haven't heard before, no one we're familiar with, that could be like one of them could be a codename for a new style DS emulator to run games on Switch. Games that would be compatible to run on Switch, because we've got to remember the limitations that you can't play it undocked and on the TV as well.
Right.
So there might be some small limitations there with some games that used
2 screens.
But no, I guess like the 2-screen stuff, if they could do it. But there's a Kickstarter that came out that supports it's a vertical dock for your Switch that allows you to play like shoot 'em ups basically that are meant to be vertical. And one of the arguments for it is that DS emulation might come to Switch. That would be a better way to play it is in vertical mode, but Nintendo doesn't officially support vertical mode right now on the Switch, so it could be something that opens up that door. So I'm going to make that bold prediction that one of those 3 unknown emulators is a DS emulator. So Game Boy, we expect N64 probably to be one of them.
It's funny with it, and I'm sure that this is probably something you've already seen on the Wii U, and I just can't think of the specific instances. But with DS, it's it doesn't work if you just like put the 2 screens on top of each other. Like games accounted for the gap. Like they basically rendered this gap that you can't see.
I might have been wrong about there being 5. There might have been 4, but here they were again. Kachi is the codename for one of them. That's NES Classics emulator. That's in the Switch. That's what runs current NES games. Canoe is the other one.
Canoe is
SNES Classic.
In the boat or KANU?
CANOE.
Okay.
I'm pronouncing it that way.
Yeah. I just didn't know if you were saying like an English word or a Japanese word.
SNES Classics emulator. Then there's Hyoko, which has question marks, and Count.
Count?
Like count. Like
Whoa.
Count. There you go. Those are the names. So people are like, what are these? There's only 4. I'm sorry, not 5.
Okay.
So it might be. It would either be probably, as you said, Game Boy. Probably in 64 is probably the safest bet.
Yeah. If there's only 2, then I could very easily see a full Game Boy Advance all the way down the line, because GBA could play old school Game Boy games.
I'm going to stick to my thing. I'm still going to say one's in 64 and one is DS.
Okay.
I'm curious. I don't know why they've done portable. They still have 3DS. Here's my argument. They still have the 3DS.
Yeah.
They still are supporting the 3DS. We're not covering in this episode, but a few weeks ago, Furukawa, the current president of Nintendo, spoke about they're still supporting the 3DS. It's like they still see value in it. It's still
as hardware.
Yeah, it's hard.
Really
it's hardware.
any
It's hardware.
games. Yeah.
But part of that service is its Virtual Console, which has Game Boy, the Game Boy games on there, and that's an exclusive right now to that platform.
Mm-hmm.
I see them holding off as long as possible on bringing those games over. But what it does not have DS games on it. The Wii U did,
right?
And that's a console feature, and I think they will bring that over to the Switch because you can already play DS games on your 3DS. There's no reason to emulate it on there. So I think it is something that they would be more willing to do. I concede, though, the easiest answer would be Game Boy and 64, but I just want to see a good DS emulator on a Switch. I'm kind of excited about that. So that was kind of buried in there with the Super NES games coming soon, but that's the thing here.
Still have to engineer how to close your Switch for trace memory.
Yeah. Well, I remember how they did the Wii U DS for Phantom Hourglass. There's the puzzle you have to do the clamshell. There's a way to make there's a button you just press that makes it do that, and then it's like the home. I think you just hit the home button or whatever brings up like the emulator menu, and then you go back and it acts like you shut it. But here's the thing. All the evidence says, and people are speculating it might be coming soon, but we're almost at the end of January. We didn't get a Nintendo Direct. Everyone was saying, there's a Nintendo Direct coming in January. Still time, but I don't think it's happening.
Right.
They did just announce that Europe is doing an Indies showcase tomorrow. We're recording on Tuesday. Tomorrow morning, Europe is doing it. And the last time this happened, a week later, Nintendo did their Nindies Direct, their next installment of that. And then after that, they did a proper Direct. Mm-hmm. So my kind of guess at this point is we're going to get that European presentation tomorrow. Sometime next week or sooner, Nintendo will announce their North American version of it, which will probably include some of those games and more. Probably more. I imagine the European one will be more about games we know about that are finally getting release dates. Mm-hmm. What is the Advance Wars game being made? Wargroove, is that what it's called?
I know that name, but I'm not sure if that's the
from
one
I forget the developer name, but it's basically like Advance Wars successor.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And people are really excited about it. They're expecting that to shadow drop tomorrow on Switch, which would be kind of nice. But I think we're going to get release dates for known games, indie games, tomorrow, and then the Nintendo America presentation will have new announcements for indie games. And then I think that will be the end of January. And then I believe my personal prediction will be in February, we're going to get a Nintendo Direct, because all we have is we have Yoshi's, not Yoshi. Oh, we do have Yoshi, but Kirby's whatever Epic Yarn, the 3DS version of it, extra Epic Yarn, is in February. That's their sole first party release. Then March is Yoshi. Mm-hmm. And they announced that on Twitter, which makes me think they have no announcements for Q1 beyond that, possibly. But we're getting to the point where there's nothing on the radar for Nintendo,
right?
Other than E3's coming. You
have some big hitters and you have some stuff that hasn't been announced
but
yet,
firm dates. Like where's Fire Emblem Three Houses? That was supposed to be that's supposed to be coming out sometime soon, supposedly. But
Demon X Machina.
Where's that game gone?
Right?
We've seen a lot of that, but no firm release date for that either. That seems like something that we made a mistake. We asked a lot of questions last episode in the preview. We did see it at Gamescom. I remember showing them you can get out of the mechs, you can go around. There was multiplayer. They talked about all of that. We were running so behind the episode. We're just kind of speeding through at that point. But no firm release date for that. Mm-hmm. Are they really going to go? They can't not go with what we know now until E3. I feel like we're going to miss out on so much stuff if they don't do that. They don't have a Direct between now and then. It'd be a long time to go without a Direct either. So,
yeah, I imagine they probably do another port or two at some point. But we need to see what's coming for those next 3 months.
Hopefully so.
After March.
Yeah, I know. I'm expecting a meaty direct when it happens because I think it's gonna talk about games still coming out before E3. I expect a couple.
Luigi's Mansion, yeah.
And I expect it will. Yeah, and I expect we'll hear. I think that's what they'll probably talk about, the SNES games coming.
Emulation,
Won't be a big deal. Just like mention it. Oh, by the way, SNES games are launching today as part of your subscription and stuff. Enjoy these games, and we'll be adding more. Blah blah blah.
Future, yeah.
Oh, and those Super Nintendo controllers, they're coming. Pre-orders begin. For Nintendo members only. My Nintendo members only. They'll do that whole package thing. But yeah, I was just sorry. I'm just a little surprised.
What would be nice for me, at least, since I haven't gotten the NES ones yet, is if the Super NES ones work with the NES.
That would be nice, yeah.
Because I would just get those.
I don't see any reason why they wouldn't.
I just want a good solid D-pad, really.
In the NES thing, you can use any controller that works on the Switch.
Yeah.
And because they register as like extra control, yeah, you're totally going to be able to use them, Bloodworth. The thing is, you can't remap button functionality in the emulator or the app, which is one thing that would be nice to have access to. Who knows? Maybe they'll do quality of life updates to the existing stuff. Maybe they'll add that stuff. Who knows? But we'd probably be restricted to just the B and A and buttons. But I feel confident telling you, Bloodworth, you'll be able to use your Super Nintendo controllers in your NES games. You can do that on all the older systems. They always worked like that. But yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, we get some good information soon from Nintendo because their official hard date stuff, it's starting to dry up. It's just kind of ambiguous things that we know about. Like even like oh, Metroid Prime 4 this year. It's not confirmed for 2019. Where have they said it's coming out in 2019?
I doubt it. Really doubt
You're like
that.
Bayonetta 3. I'm like, was not confirmed for 2019.
Not confirmed. Bayonetta 3, I think, is a better shot at it.
Maybe.
I'm not sure what else Platinum has going on at the moment.
Yeah, they're working on Babylon's Tower thing for Square Enix, and I thought one other project they talked about.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're pulling on a Nier sequel.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, they're also probably working on Nier 3, whatever that is. But yeah, we'll see. Hopefully we get a direct soon. I want to say as we close out this close out this episode, Franco, you might have noticed there were no patron questions this episode.
Oh.
And that was my fault. I've just been extremely busy.
Oh yeah, 2 reviews.
I've been really busy,
back.
and
yeah,
then
sure.
I thought last night was Sunday night, not Monday night. I was just like out of it. I was like, yeah, I'm like labeling footage for the Ace Combat 7 review. I'm like, all right, I'm finishing labeling this. I'm like, all right, good. Now I can start looking at friend code because it's recording in 2 days, and I got to figure out the subjects and stuff. And I'm like, oh, I know what the subjects are. And then I was like, oh crap, Hall of Great. So I started doing research on my Hall of Great thing, and then I was like, I'll finish putting friend code together tomorrow. I have time. And I woke up and like, wait, today's Tuesday. I was like, no. So I was like, okay, I got plenty of time to finish prepping the friend code. But I was like, there's no point in making a post ask for questions at this point. I'll get like a handful of questions.
Yeah, a handful.
Yeah, I felt it would have looked like kind of like bad. I'd rather just say I forgot it because I was so busy. So I want to apologize to everyone for that. I'm really sorry. Just lost track of time, but I'll make sure that won't happen again.
Better double up
next episode. Next episode, we will definitely be back to taking patron questions, and those questions will be available to $5 and up patrons. I will make a post the week we're recording calling for submissions, letting you know what we'll be talking about so you can keep your questions related to those topics, and we'll try and get as many questions in as we can. And with that, I also want to say this is the final episode we'll be recording here in Brandon's garage.
Yeah,
another show that is wrapping up here, and
I'm particularly looking forward to whatever. I mean, we may not have an overlap, but I'm looking forward to anything that like somehow slips through and is recorded here and then launches after the studio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was curious. I got off by a week and thought friend code was going to be that, but I was like, oh no, we're fine.
You'll be up right
fine.
before.
Mm-hmm. But there's some stuff, visually I would like to, within the confines of what we'll be doing, to give the show more of a identity, personality. Can't tell you any of those ideas because I don't want to spoil anything about anything we're doing.
They haven't been decided.
Nothing. Yeah, so nothing's been decided yet, but there are ideas. One thing I will say going forward is that clips, footage of stuff that I used to edit into a very few of the episodes, those will actually be coming back. Footage where relevant will be coming back to friend code. will be presented in the same fashion, which it'll be a smaller kind of picture-in-picture in the bottom. We might use the Switch system again. It's kind of like the lower third, and then we have the videos play like it looks like it's playing on the Switch. We might be doing that again. And I just saw a lot of comments asking all three of our podcasts to please start doing that. And I know since Friend Code already had tried to do it before, it's something that we want to get back to. So it'll either be at this episode, depending on if there's enough to show, or maybe next episode. But where it makes sense, where there's actually something to show, we will start doing that again. And it'll be, you won't lose us. We will always be on camera, and the footage will just be at the bottom. So I think everyone really liked how that was presented. So that's one thing I can tell you that will be coming. But yeah, the next episode for this will be coming from the new studio. So new look and everything like that. But yeah, apologies again for the no questions, no Q&A. That was on me. That fell through. Yeah. That's gonna wrap it up. There wasn't too much big news the last 2 weeks. There was the whole the bummer thing is though, by the time we're done recording, NPD numbers are coming out later today. So those will probably be covered on the Easy Allies podcast. So that's
Kyle's
Thunder. Kyle's gonna get that scoop right there. And then we're missing
those are the Smash Brothers numbers.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's kind of
Smash Brothers again.
Yeah, in fact, you know what? I'm going to go look right now live. We're going to see if those numbers drop just so I can see that. But I will say this. They did do a preliminary report, and the Switch was the best-selling hardware of 2018. And in December, it actually outsold PS4 and Xbox combined.
Wow.
For hardware sales in North America. Oh, here we go. December 2018 NPD results. Switch highest selling console of 2018 by units and revenue. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate top selling game of December. I'm sorry. I'm making this for me. I just want this right here, baby. Right here. Number 1, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for December. Beating out the likes of Black Ops 4, Red Dead Redemption, Battlefield, you name it. Pick any game you want. It beat it. It beat them all. Do they list the top? The 20 best-selling games of 2018. Here's a good one. Yeah, get out of here, Huber. The highest the highest Switch game at number 5. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Wow.
Best-selling game of 2018.
Wow.
1 month of sales. Made it at number 5. Wow. That's insane. The next best Switch game was Mario Kart 8 all the way down at 12. So, yeah. Smash Brothers did pretty well. I'm trying to see real quick if they had anything on Smash Brothers, like a quote about it. So here we go. Super Smash Brothers Ultimate is already a blockbuster hit. It is the top-selling game of December and the number 5 best-selling game for all of 2018. What's stunning about this is that Nintendo's games do not include digital sales on this chart. Call of Duty, Red Dead, and Spider-Man all do, at least on consoles. So that's not including digital sales. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is the best-selling game of December 2018 with the package software launch month dollar sale of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate exceeded those of the previous best in the franchise history, Super Smash Bros. Brawl, which is the previous one, by over 70%.
Wow.
Brawl was the previous best-selling Smash Brothers game, and for its launch month, and Ultimate beat it by 70%. Woo! So if you didn't believe it before from all the numbers that were like eking out over the last month about how well Smash was doing, it did really well.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got to cover that at least. We snuck that in there. I'm so happy I checked that. That's huge. I'm gonna ask you this to wrap it up. Do you think that Super Smash Bros. Ultimate will end up being the best-selling game on Switch over its lifetime?
Ooh. It's between that and Mario Kart, most likely.
I don't think there'll be another Smash Brothers released on Switch. I think another Mario Kart will.
Yeah. If there's another Mario Kart,
and I think that will
outsell it.
Oh, you think a new Mario Kart would outsell it? Like a Mario Kart 9?
When everything's said and done. Yeah.
That's an interesting pick. I think I just see them supporting Smash for a long time. I think they're going to keep at it. I think they support it longer than any of their games, and I think that's going to keep it selling a lot. Yeah. I'm trying to think Mario Kart 9 if they did that.
Oh, they'd support the hell out of that.
So Mario Kart 8 did so well, and I don't know whether to take that as a brand new one would do even better, because it wouldn't be viewed as, oh, I already bought the Wii U version, but there wasn't that many people that applied to.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
In relatively speaking. Yeah, I could see that. No, Brad, I could buy that. Mario Kart game could end up being the best-selling one. I absolutely believe that. Do you think the Pokemon 2019 game has any chance of doing that?
Maybe.
Or a Pokemon game?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially depends on how they count it. If they count them separately, it might have a harder time. But
Yeah.
Oh,
2 games.
you know, I will give that. I will, if we ever go back and check this, someone asks us this question. Hey, remember in this episode you said, can you go look now and see who won? I will count Pokemon game combined, the 2 versions.
Okay.
Not 3. If they make a 3rd version, not like later on. Nope.
Yeah,
nope.
like
Just the
later.
2.
Yeah.
Just the 2 that come out this year, if they still do come out this year. All right, that's really going to wrap it up for this episode. Thank you again, both of you, for being on this episode. And again, apologies. I'm going to keep apologizing for no Q&A this time, but it will be returning. So thank you for your understanding on that. But until next time, from the new studio, may the way of the hero lead to the Triforce.